Okay, we are now live streaming.
All right.
Before we start, I did want to mention that School Board Representative Karen Perez wasn't able to be here tonight, but she is watching the live stream, so she'll send in any questions that she has.
Perfect. Well, welcome, everyone. This is the meeting of the Bond Accountability Committee, established to assist in monitoring the progress of executing the BSD 2022 bond program, and we're responsible to the school board. Today's date is November 19th, and this meeting is being live streamed and recorded and will be posted to the Beaverton School District website. Welcome to the Bond Accountability Committee members, representatives of the school board, facility staff members, and guests from the public. Let me remind everyone to use your microphones when speaking so that what you say will be recorded audibly and accurately. I'd like to review the agenda quickly as part of our welcome. We'll start with public comment, then we'll have Bond Accountability Committee business, and we have 3 staff reports tonight, project highlights from the Allen Transportation Modernization and Critical Equipment and Buses projects. We'll have an overview of the Senate Bill 1149 or ETO program, and we'll review the bond financial report from October. We also all previously received the September report by email, so feel free to raise any questions from that report as well when we get to that part of the meeting. With that, we will move forward. It's time for public comment. Do we have any public comment?
We did not receive any public comment for this meeting.
All right, thank you. Moving on to Bond Accountability Committee business. Just a reminder, this is our second meeting, and as Josh just pointed out, our last for the fiscal year, or the calendar year, but our second meeting for the fiscal year. And our remaining meeting schedule is on our meeting materials. Josh, Aaron, and I have met to plan agenda items for this meeting as well as future meetings. But if you have any items you want to see covered in a future meeting, please either let me, Aaron, or Josh know so we can get all of the items covered. Is there any other committee business that anyone else would like to cover? All right. Seeing none, we will move on to the staff reports.
Wonderful, thank you. So I wanted to highlight tonight a few of the projects. You know, we spend most of our time talking about Beaverton High School and Raleigh Hills, seismic. So I'm going to highlight a few of these other projects tonight. They are the Allen Transportation Rebuild Project, our modernization, which I'm going to have Eric come and speak to those projects, and we have a whole bunch of pictures and examples and everything. And then critical equipment, which is just, it's a bucket in the financial report that you see, and so we're going to show what that means. So, Allen Transportation. So the Allen Transportation Yard is it was a project. It was one of the 3 replacements actually in the bond. So Beaverton, Raleigh Hills, Allen Transportation. This is a bus maintenance facility that we have. It's over just off 217, right at Allen in 217. And it's a big lot where buses are, and it's a pretty small maintenance facility right now. I think they have 2 or 3 bays currently. The facility itself is really, really old. It's really small. Here's some background on it, but it supports maintenance for just about half of the district's fleet of buses. The bus is kind of on the east side of the district. The building itself is old. It is not in good shape. It's performs very poor seismically. That's one of the things that boosted up on the list for replacement here. Big thing also is the lifts in the building that they use to lift the buses up, get underneath them. They're in very bad shape. They're dangerous and failing, and kind of reached the point where they're no longer able to be maintained very well. So all these are the reasons why we are replacing the facility. Here's just a couple of pictures of the existing facility. It's not really a complicated project. It's a service building. It's not even really like visible too much from the street out there, but really we want a facility that can support our bus maintenance needs, and one that is easily maintainable, durable, and can be flexible to support the needs for many years in the future. We looked at a few different options. We looked at renovating the existing building. We looked at different scenarios of renovating parts of the building. But what we came up with was that really the most cost-effective solution was going to be just replacing the building with a pre-engineered metal building, actually. So that's where we're at right now, working with Opsis as the architect and Robinson as the CMGC, and it's going really well so far. We're in the process of procuring the metal building at this time. So some challenges on the site. Being kind of an older facility that maintained buses, you can imagine there's a lot of oil and other chemicals and things. The lifts themselves having failed, the pits that they're sitting in kind of became contaminated to some degree. So we have to remove all of that. The groundwater there is very high. This is right next to Fano Creek. And the existing site does not have stormwater detention right now, so it's not compliant with current stormwater requirements. So that's just something we had to deal with in the project, is addressing the stormwater quantity and quality with the new facility. So we'll also be improving kind of the public right away, their sidewalk and everything, adding the stormwater detention. A real big problem for us lately has actually been security in our bus yards. We have been getting broken into a lot and having like catalytic converters stolen on buses. It's happening a lot. And so the new site just gives us an opportunity to improve the fencing, improve the surveillance, put in means of detecting when people cut through the fencing and so forth. It'll create a larger building, and a more accessible building, and one that will be a lot safer for our staff to use. So this is what the site looks like. So you can see there on the back of the site is where we're going to add a stormwater detention facility, which is a pretty sizable chunk there. This gray area is just, we're not really doing anything right there. We're not repaving it, or we're looking at potentially doing a grind and overlay for that area, but we're largely not doing it. But right here is where the new building will go, which is pretty much right where the current building is at. And you can see Allen up here. So we're trying to really limit the site work as much as possible. Let's see. So some noteworthy things on the project. Like I mentioned, it's a CMGC project that we're doing with Robinson Construction. They've been really helpful in delivering the project on budget so far. We have actually been able to increase the scope of the project and stay within that current budget. So we originally had envisioned 4 bays, but right now we're at 6 bays, and things seem to be right on budget. So it's really good news. Yeah, there's really not a whole lot more to say about it other than I think we're pretty happy with the design. It looks nice, but it's really a simple building.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are you having to do different things with that facility because of the electric buses? Or is there different equipment or different things that they need to be able to maintain those buses?
Yeah, that's a good question, and one that I can't really answer very well. I could look into that for you. I believe the answer is yes. I believe to the extent that we maintain parts and pieces of the electric buses, it will be capable of doing that, but a lot of that ends up not being done by our staff, as I understand it. But they are parked there. There will be chargers there. The routine maintenance and stuff, we do all that. So.
Thank you.
Just a couple of questions on the site. The detention pond, that's on the Fano Creek side of it.
Yes.
Will that impact the trail at all? Or that's being built?
It will not impact the trail. The trail's not on our property. It's adjacent to it, but it shouldn't affect it at all.
As far as egress and ingress from Allen, will that be pretty much as is, or will there be any changes?
It'll be pretty much as is. We'll be doing right-of-way improvements, sidewalk, and a new driveway and everything up here. But other than that, it won't really change at all. It's really not even very visible from Allen right there. That won't change. else. Here's just some pictures. So this is where the new main entrance will be. Just the different elevations of the building. Ooh, a nice nighttime shot there. Some cool, numbers for the bays all lit up. So we're planning on starting construction here in about March. So it'll depend on when we get all of our permits and everything. But during construction, all the bus maintenance is going to have to be handled at TSC, which is right behind Five Oaks. That's kind of our main bus yard and maintenance yard. So the maintenance staff will move entirely over there for that time, and they'll be doing 2 shifts in order to make up for it. So yeah, that's kind of it as far as schedule. Any more questions on the Allen Transportation? Okay, I'm going to invite Eric Bolkin. He is our senior project manager, and he is overseeing the modernization projects. So he's going to give you all a rundown. Eric, you can sit over here.
All right, modernization. So this is a pretty big program in the bond, where the intent for the modernization program is to be able to see impacts of the bond throughout all of our schools in the district. We're addressing every school outside of the new builds from the last bond with this modernization program. So the idea is that we work directly with the school to determine the scope at each school. We don't have a specific set of projects that we plan in advance. We have a good idea, kind of a menu that we can talk with and help brainstorm with the principals if they don't already have ideas. But we kind of approach it on an individual school by school basis. Budgets. The budgets for these schools were established kind of during the bond planning, where it was a bit of a formulaic piece where we looked at age of schools, school needs, student population, and came up with a formula to determine how to break up the overall modernization budget and assign each school their individual budgets. And then, as I mentioned, to determine the specific projects, we worked with the principals at each school. As a new round of schools come up, we go meet with the principals. They usually have a wish list of a lot of things that they would like to see done to their schools. What we're trying to do, we try and direct them towards things that will affect the student and kind of public experience at the schools. And then, we take their wish list, try and put some budgetary numbers to it, and determine kind of a final list of projects that we then complete at each school. So I've got a couple slides of projects that we've done at schools thus far. There's a couple pieces that are in italics that are not complete yet, but we already have plan and we're working on executing these. So you can see we've hit the high schools, most of the middle schools. We're coming down to a few more middle schools this coming summer and beyond. Some of the projects where we have other large improvements happening, we've still worked with the principal to determine the scope of what they would like to see done with their modernization money. But then we combine it with, say, seismic upgrades, where at for Mountain View, for example, we already knew we were going to be in that school making a large impact. So the office improvements that we are doing there, we scoped out with the principal, finished, kind of our planning, and then handed it off to the architect and construction team, the contracting team there to actually execute the project. Rather than trying to run two separate contractors on the same site at the same time, it just made more sense to lump it all into one larger project. There are some common themes that you see throughout these lists of projects where we're doing a lot of AV upgrades in the gym areas at the high schools, a lot of front office updates throughout. We're doing a lot of finishes, different places, just kind of sprucing up the different areas. A lot of library updates, and we've got some pictures here as we go through a couple other slides here. But you can see, we've got 12 projects or locations here, and each of them have multiple projects that we've completed per school. And here's another 11 locations, 10 plus our district-wide AV and tech updates, which we did the first summer after we passed the bond. We went through and standardized the classroom setup for AV. So when any teacher potentially switches locations, when a substitute comes in to work at one school and then they go work at a different school, they have the exact same setup. They know how the technology in the classrooms work, and it really makes it a seamless thing, school to school. No schools have a fancy setup in their classrooms that other schools don't, kind of thing. So we've completed 3 summers worth of projects, and we've got 3 more summers worth of projects to come. Right now for summer 26, we're in the process of executing contracts, getting work bid out to do in this upcoming summer. There we've got some restroom updates, some front office updates, more library updates, some flooring replacements in different schools. So really, it's a wide variety. Contracting wise, where we've got more intense construction, we're either working with the CMGC or we're hard bidding out the work, just kind of dependent on the scope of work. We're doing a lot of purchasing through purchasing cooperatives for furniture, office partitions, that kind of thing, where we're able to really try and utilize our staff to almost act as a CMGC in a way to execute a lot of these projects. And kind of the front-loaded or the earlier projects in the bond, we did a lot of the larger budgets, and now those were the schools that had the higher need. They had the higher budgets within the modernization program, and we executed a lot of those earlier. Now we're getting further and further into the schools where they're newer schools that really don't need as much, and so their budgets are getting smaller, so the scopes of work are getting a little bit smaller as we go on through the life of the bond here. And I've got some photos, examples of projects. This is Beaver Acres. We provided them a new running path around their field outside. And then on the right, you can see the before and after from there. They've got an enclosed courtyard that was, as you can see, hard to maintain. So we actually put in that some turf area, a new pre-K playground element, because the pre-K didn't have any age appropriate play equipment there. So we were able to go in and get that all done this last summer. One of the common themes that we see a lot in these schools is library updates that the schools are asking for. So these are pictures from Barnes and McKay, where you can see in the top left is the old Barnes, and then down below it with the new sound panels on the wall. They had experienced that it was very loud in there, and it's right adjacent to classrooms. So we did some acoustic treatments, replaced the furniture so it was consistent furniture in the space, redid their flooring, new bookcases, that kind of thing. And that, I feel like that's a really nice space now, where it did not used to be nearly as nice at Barnes. That one turned out particularly well. And then there's a picture of McKay. We did similar scope of work there. Office improvements. We did office upgrades at 3 different schools. These pictures here are at Greenway, where the photos are being taken from the same location for the first kind of set of 3 photos there, where we took out the old furniture, brought in new furniture, rearranged it so it's a more inviting kind of experience for people coming in, students coming in to get picked up, that kind of thing. And then they had an old space that was kind of a leftover storage space with a lot of PTO equipment or materials and that kind of thing, where because Greenway was used or is still being used as Raleigh Hills co-location right now, we set up a office specifically for the Raleigh Hills admin staff there. And we redid the space, chose units that can be easily moved. In fact, they've already been moved to another to another location. So we were able to demount the partitions there, and we put them into a different room after their first year at Greenway. The Raleigh Hills folks wanted to have a few changes, so we found another space, and now that's area is still refreshed and able to be used kind of as a collaboration space. And we're still using all the furniture, just in a different large room for the admin there from Raleigh Hills at Greenway. This is Ridgewood. That top left picture, you can see that blue wall right in the center. They had this partition in there that really broke up the space and made it hard for the front office staff to greet people, difficult from a visibility standpoint. So we took that out and redid the rest of the space as well. You can see that after picture down kind of lower right. And then we also did Elmonica front office upgrades, which on the left plan is what the office layout used to be. And then the right-hand side is the new layout. So the reception lobby area was really thin. It did not leave a lot of space for anybody. There were two staff members there. And then the principal's office was large off to the side, but it was really difficult to have more than 3 people, in the office at once. And so these 2 pictures, although it doesn't look like it, are taken from standing in the exact same spot. So the left-hand photo, the wall that kind of returns, on the other side of that wall is the principal's office, but this was the 2 main front office staff. One had to sit facing away from people coming in, and one person faced them. And now with the renovation, you can see it's much more open. We added a single user staff bathroom along with this renovation, reduced the size of their staff room because it was really big and kind of underutilized, and we were able to reconfigure the space really more efficiently and really open it up. And Nate actually did a great video on it recently that's on the website that I would encourage you to watch. It's kind of funny listening to the kids. Aloha, these are photos from Aloha. On the left-hand side is their old main office. And once we did the new office addition with our security project, the old office area was being used for their college and career center. So after the front office moved into the new addition, then we came in with a modernization project and really renovated the existing office and made it into a space that they could use for their career and college center. So that's what that last slide in this are photos of their updated counseling offices. Also at Aloha, we were able to take a room that was being used for concessions. They don't really have a concessions. They did not have a concession stand there for basketball and their auditorium use. So we were able to go in there, get them some upgraded fixtures, equipment, add water. They didn't have any water in this room before. So now this is a fully functioning concessions area for them to use during events. We also installed all user restrooms at 2 locations, and we're moving forward kind of planning for actually 3 locations. Sorry. We did Aloha. And then these are photos from this last summer where at Sunset and Whitford, we went and created large group all user restrooms. So you can see the partitions are taller, full partitions that kind of separate out the different stalls, allowing this to be used for all users. It used to be 2 small, in each instance, there were 2 smaller boys and girls sides, and now it's a larger area that can be used for all users that they use during the school. Actually, the Sunset, these restrooms were typically closed during the school day, but now they're open and used. I was there a few weeks back, and they're constantly being used. So it's a much better use of the space, and we've had good feedback from all the schools for adding these all user restrooms. And then one other project we did at ISB, they were using 2 old classrooms as their weight and exercise rooms. So we went in and created a new space, or renovated the existing space to, we got rid of the carpet because that's not a great flooring to use in weight room, and put in new flooring. We bought new equipment for them. We really set that up to be used in a much better way than it used to be there at ISB. I think that's my last slide for the modernization. Are there any questions about the program or any projects in particular? Yeah.
All the projects look great. Do you run into any efficiency challenges, just that it's a lot of projects and it looks like it's a really high level of engagement with each school? And so, I mean, where my question is leading to, is this a better use of $24 million than a roof replacement or a seismic upgrade or a security upgrade somewhere else? Mm-hmm. That could be one project, big impact. Not that these aren't big impacts, but.
Yeah, I mean, feel free to jump in, Aaron, but I feel like this is a good, it is a lot of undertaking for all of these projects. But I think being able to make an impact at all the different schools is definitely something that engages all the communities, that I feel like it's been a success because everybody has something to be excited about within the district, as opposed to just one school being addressed, I think is our biggest win with this. Efficiency wise within our side of the effort, after the first round or two, we were able to kind of help streamline and help point the schools towards projects that will be the best impact at their schools. But I think it's worth it, the effort to be able to impact all the different schools.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And, I'd say if you ask the school, the principals in particular, but even students, like, these are the projects that they notice and feel like, it always frustrates me to some degree when we finish a huge seismic job that's like, it's so much effort for us, but like, nobody in the school sees any of that. It makes no difference to them. It's just, it happens and it's invisible, and deferred maintenance projects are the same for the most part too, unless you have a good HVAC project, but they don't see that stuff. And so this is the stuff that they see. We're using it to address like very particular pain points at each location. And I agree with Eric. I think it's been a pretty big win.
Would it be something that would be continued in subsequent bonds? Like, would it be the similar practice, or?
I think we would like to continue it. Yep. I think we need to do some more outreach when we start bond planning again, but I would like to continue it.
Yeah.
I did have a question. So a lot of these projects seem like they have a shorter term, reasonable life. So things like flooring, computers, AV systems. So how do you factor that into the overall kind of goal of having fixed assets on the bond that are going to outlive the length of the bond? And what sort of advice do you give to the schools to be able to try to identify things that are going to last a little bit longer?
So it's one of our goals to, reduce operational expenses. And so we are very thoughtful when it comes to, we're just talking about a project today, as a matter of fact, in this bucket, as far as what sort of materials should we use? Like, should we be putting carpet in like for like, or should we be putting in something more durable than carpet? And that is a big thing that we look at, and certainly our goal is to reduce the long-term operational expenses. AV systems are a hard one for us. I think those just never seem to last super long anymore. And so we're replacing systems that are not working in most cases. A little bit of a different calculus goes into those ones, but it is offsetting maintenance expenditures by having us do these as part of the modernization project, certainly. But these projects are kind of across the board here, and it's definitely something we try to be thoughtful about.
Thank you.
Just looking at the financial report, it looks like you're just a little over half spent or over half committed in this category. So on the remaining less than half, do you foresee any challenges or projects that have a higher risk?
I don't really, we, like I said, when we meet with the principals, we kind of start with an open book. We let them know, kind of how much budget we're working with. We take their suggestions, and then we decide on what projects to move forward within our budgets. So we really haven't had many, if any, overruns on budget thus far for the different locations. And I don't really foresee it happening as we move forward either. Thanks.
Thanks, Eric. Okay, next. The very exciting critical equipment bucket. So if you look in the financial report, there's a number of line items. Let's see. I'll read them off here. We've got copiers, $1.5 million. Athletic director, $1 million. Band equipment, $2.5 million. Maintenance equipment, $1 million. Furniture, $1 million. And curriculum at $3.9 million. So there's really not a whole lot to these. They're pretty simple in terms of what we're doing and the intent of it. But this is another one where it's offsetting general fund operational expenditures by purchasing the equipment here. Copiers, school district we use make a lot of copies, and this is how we pay for the copier replacements at end of life. So the project there is a little over halfway complete. Furniture. So we have a number of different ways that we deal with furniture, but this is one of them, and we're using this right now to help standardize classroom furniture, to get rid of old obsolete furniture and bring in new furniture that's consistent with our furniture standard. Maintenance equipment. So this is all sorts of different stuff. You can see there we've got a carpet cleaner. We got lawnmowers. We got all sorts of different things. So it's literally just buying the equipment. So they're not really projects. I don't deal with a lot of these very directly. A lot of this is handled directly with our budget office. Let's see, visual and performing arts. So this is just like what it sounds. We're buying musical equipment. This is an interesting one when we were doing bond planning, because we, for the longest time, did not have we didn't have budget available to purchase the instruments and stuff. So we were spending a lot of money on repairing old instruments, and we just had some clunkers out there. So this has allowed TNL to go in and buy all sorts of new instruments, updated, functional, working instruments. Language arts adoptions. So this is one that wasn't originally in the bond, but was added to the bond, and it's just purchasing the curriculum. And then the last one I'm most familiar with here, I oversee this one, but it's the athletic critical equipment. So this is just buying stuff. It's mostly at the high school level. It's working directly with 6 athletic directors and doing projects that they have a need for. It's been things like scoreboards, wrestling mats, hoops, a lot of track equipment, different outfield fencing, things of that nature. They've got a whole list of projects, and I work with them to go through it and assign prices to it and to buy it, and it's been pretty successful. Oh, and then school buses. School buses is its own line item. So it's number 16 in the financial report. We say that we had 10 million there for school buses. And so I listed the numbers here about the types of school buses that we've purchased so far. So lots of special needs buses, several electric buses, and the purchasing of those just takes place over the course of the bond. So that's that. Any questions on critical equipment?
I'll throw you one, Aaron. That all those buckets are separate from the FF&E buckets that you have set up for new builds or where you're adding program space, right?
That's correct. Yeah. So like for Beaverton High School or Raleigh Hills, there will be a line item within those projects to buy that furniture and the new equipment for the schools and everything too. Okay, so I've asked Jeff to join us to talk about the SB 1149 and ETO programs. There's just another one we haven't really talked about a lot. We reference it a lot actually, and I'll probably do so tonight when I do the financial report. But I won't steal Jeff's thunder. Take it away.
Yeah, thanks. So this isn't really my thunder. So Matt Lichtenfels is our Energy and Resource Conservation Manager. He runs this program, actually put this together for us, but wasn't able to join us tonight. But luckily, I did a lot of this work in my former life, so I have a little bit of familiarity with how it works and how we do it over here. So as Aaron mentioned, in our monthly financial reports, right, you'll see in our revenue stream, there's often an ETO or an SB 1149 component in that revenue stream. So we thought we'd talk a little bit about what that is, if you're not familiar with it, how it's funded, a little bit about the program, and then what the projects are that we do, how those funds are utilized in the bond primarily. We also use those funds for other things in the districts, not with the bond, but we're focused primarily on how we use those funds within the bond program. So these funds, you know, they really help enhance the projects. We're able to make projects more energy efficient, reduce long-term operation costs by making the systems more efficient than they could potentially with the funding that we have available. So it's a really good thing. It's a good partnership by taking the bond program and then some of these additional funds and being able to make better decisions and better choices for the district long-term. So the program itself, the SB 1149 program, was a program passed many years ago, and what it does is it collects 1.5% public purpose charge from everybody that pays rates to the primary PGE and Pacific Core, and then 20% of that is directly dedicated to K-12 schools to implement energy efficiency projects through the SB 1149 Schools Fund. Another portion of that fund also goes into the Energy Trust of Oregon funding, which we are able to access as well for existing buildings and new buildings. So we get approximately $80,000 to $90,000 per month from the SB 1149 for Schools Fund, and use that. Those funds we're able to pay for 100% of project costs. The Energy Trust of Oregon funds, which come from the same system, you get an incentive on what you go above in energy efficiency. So if we buy a system that's 20% more efficient than a standard code-based system, we get an incentive on buying that more efficient system. So that's a little bit on how SB 1149 and Energy Trust of Oregon. So this is just a little bit of details Matt put together about what is funded through ETO, but they do energy efficiency audits, and then they help us with all this other funding and provide incentives for commissioning, energy modeling, energy efficiency, lots of other energy efficient projects. When we go into so Aaron, if you can go to the next slide for me. So talk a little bit about the projects that we've done as a district. So we've done a lot of digital controls upgrades with many of our projects. We've done boilers, hot water systems, VFD pumps and fans, high efficiency heat pumps, a lot of lighting. That's something that usually we can bring into a project fairly easily, and Matt and the SB 1149 can support those upgrades. We've done roof and wall insulation, a lot of things, being able to stretch our dollar and do more when we're doing these projects. A little bit about the financial piece. So Matt put a little summary together. So in the last bond cycle, we were able to use this much funding here. So 4.7 million SB 1149, 1.3 in ETO, and 540 in the ETO existing buildings program. That saves us about $650,000 annually by implementing those programs in the last bond. This bond is very similar. He mentions we're in the same trajectory of spending about the same amount of funds. For now, we spent 2.8 million in SB 1149, 500K in ETO and new buildings, and 650K in existing buildings. So that's roughly $4 million that we've been able to use to make our projects better and our school be more efficient and operationally efficient. Total cost savings of over $400,000. That's a 10-year simple payback. That's a pretty good buy for our money there. So in the next slide, we talk a little bit. This is where that funding has gone in our projects in this bond cycle. Have to forgive me because I can't read that from here, but it just kind of lists out things where we've spent that money. So Capital Center, we got incentives for upgrading the RTUs and the DDC system there for more efficient systems. Mountain View was a big one that we did. So we're doing a huge seismic project there. So we're able to bring in a lot of things. Eric's mentioned modernization. We use modernization funds. We use deferred maintenance funds, and we use SB 1149 and ETO funds, all in that one project to make all that funding the most efficient. There's a lot of stuff that happened in that project, and ETO is one of those. Aloha High School HVAC was another one. Obviously, that's an HVAC project. It kind of lends itself to this kind of funding. So we used a lot of funds for the upgrades to the HVAC, the controls, the boilers, other things in that project. And again, another Meadow Park, again, another seismic project where we're in there doing work. There's a lot of efficiencies doing similar, like we're impacting the walls and the ceilings. Well, let's go ahead and take the old lighting down and replace that with a more efficient, lighting project. So that's a summary of what we've done so far. And I think that might be the last slide there. That's it. Any questions on that?
I'm trying to understand the dollar amounts. So you said about 80 to 90,000 a month. That's just for bond project?
No, so that's the funding coming into the district for the SB 1149 piece of the
Okay.
project. So Matt will we'll dedicate a lot of those funds to bond programs, but he also runs smaller projects outside of the bond, things like lighting upgrades and fields and parking lots. He runs other projects outside of the bond by themselves, but we do bring the funding as well. And then there's some maintenance projects where he'll also support those projects as well. So it's not just the bond.
Okay. That may answer my second, because the second question, I think your last slide said there was about 2.8 million for the 2022 bond
Correct.
program, but our financial report is showing, probably about 900,000 of revenue. So I'm trying to,
It's a timing thing, so
Okay.
we're saying it will eventually,
Okay,
it's
so-
going up. It's a little, so the way we get the money, it's through, we have to do EEMs, energy efficiency measures. So it requires a study be done showing that the things we're doing have meet certain requirements, have a certain payback and so forth. So we have to do the project, we have to pay for the project, we have to submit all of the, substantiation documents. Then they'll send us a check.
okay. So you have the commitments, but the cash isn't in hand.
Yeah, we get reimbursed later.
Okay.
Exactly.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Yep, thanks, Jeff. Last thing before the financial report run through, it was real hard to read here, but just wanted to throw it out there as we have been doing annual financial examinations, and just to we worked with Baker Tilly on these. We did one last year, and it's looking at the expenditures. So they do a sampling of super random sampling of all of our expenditures, and ensure that they're consistent with the ballot language. So they pull up the ballot language, they look at it, I don't even know how they select these samples, but it's the weirdest things. But they're looking at the two, and they produce this very, very brief essentially one sentence here that says, in our opinion, management's assertion that the bond proceeds were expended for types of projects summarized in the bond measures is fairly stated in all material respects. So there we go. Thank you. So we'll keep doing this. We'll do this every year because, obviously you guys don't have enough information to dig into that level of detail, but we've got this here, so. Okay, with that, I'll go through the financial report. Actually, I've put this on there every month. These are stories that Nate has done. I would definitely like to give him a plug if you guys don't watch his videos. They're really, really engaging. Lots of cool stuff there. He forced me to be on camera for the Beaver Acres one, which was not my favorite, but turned out well. Okay, let me pull up the financial report. And I'm just gonna I'm going to only summarize this at a very high level here, so feel free to stop me if you have any questions. Mention the audit on there. Under schedule perspective, the Oak Hills Classroom Edition is on schedule and is just about substantially complete. So it's all dried in. We're just working on finishes and everything right now. Eric's actually managing that one. They'll be excited to move. I think that they're going to move in into January or something. Allen Transportation, I already talked about. We're getting ready to start that one, so we're just gonna probably be waiting for permits. And then under challenges and opportunities, the seismic resiliency grant program, seismic rehabilitation grant program. We're working on the application for Whitford, so we're going to be submitting that pretty soon. Whitford will be one of our next seismic upgrades, so we'll be starting that not summer 2026, but summer 2027, and hoping to get a grant for that one. Yeah. Okay, hold on. This thing formats weird. Okay, well, probably can't see that. Okay, one thing I wanted to point out on this page here that is new, sort of, is here in the, if you compare this to the previous month's report, you'll see this section under liabilities called assurances. And what this is referring to is normally when you're a developer and you're doing a development project in a city or something that ties in with public infrastructure or right away, you have to take out a performance bond. And the purpose of that performance bond is to ensure that those improvements are constructed properly and completely. You know, to buy a performance bond costs money. We have an arrangement with both the city and the county that we do not have to provide performance bonds because we're not a developer, we're not going anywhere, we're part of the community here. So they have a certain amount of trust that we're going to complete these improvements. However, that trust only goes so far. So the agreement is that we set up these assurance accounts. So we take the money, we take the cost of those improvements, we set that money aside in case we don't decide not to complete the project. And so that money is sitting there in our own account. It is a liability on paper because we can't spend it technically, but it's not an expense or anything like that. And showing it on the report here is it's a cash flow issue, right? We can't spend that money. So the bulk of it is related to Beaverton High School and the work that we're doing in Farmington Road. So once that work is complete here in another year or so, we'll be able to pull this off of this sheet and spend the money. What else do we have going on? So you can see some more notes on there regarding interest earnings and SB 1149 reimbursements. We've got a reimbursement there of $193,000 for lighting at Mountain View Middle School. Wow, that's really hard to read. Okay. Other than that, there's really not much that's noteworthy on the financial report. A few different adjustments between projects. Down here I'll point out under section 12, the security upgrades, the primary project that we're doing under that group, we call the security trio. It's cameras, access control, and intrusion. We're doing that across the district. We transferred a little bit of money out of that project into 12.007, which is at Barnes Elementary School to do a secure entry there. So this is in anticipation of having some savings on the security upgrades project and knowing that we have a need to install a secure entrance at Barnes. So we're going to design the project, get it ready to go, and then if there is enough savings in the rest of those projects, we'll be able to move forward with that one. And that concludes the, here's the rest of the report. Okay. That concludes the financial piece of it. Sorry. Ugh. Okay, there we go. No real changes on the equity report. We did kind of notice this month that our line here seems to be flattening a little bit. So we just talked at our staff meeting this week about re-energizing our efforts here, so it doesn't start to dip down or stay flat. Apprenticeship also kind of flattening out a little bit here too. That may have to do with the fact that we're going into winter and not as much summer, not as much construction going on in general. Project updates. Beaverton High School is coming along, going really well. Still on track. Everything looking good there. I think. When are you guys getting power hooked up? I heard that was like today. Permanent power hooked up to the building today. Very exciting. And storm system is now connected. That was a huge. That was hard to overstate the difficulty of that effort. Yeah, it's a year and a half late. And that was really just had to do with Farmington, the tie-in on Farmington, and all the stuff going on in the road there. A few pictures there.
Aaron, is the Zipley saga over, or is that still?
The Zipley saga on Farmington is over.
Congratulations.
It was certainly a saga, for sure. Just some random pictures here. Raleigh Hills also coming along very well. Roofing done, gables done, solar underway, paved the western parking lot. What was it, a couple weeks ago? Last week, the week before. That was a big milestone. What else? You guys are punching the first section of the building next week, actually. So, very close. One of the classrooms. And this is covered play structure here, and this is the east side of the building where that is now paved. Allen Transportation, talked about that already tonight. Expected to come in on budget. Oak Hills, also mentioned that one, also going well. Be done here next month. Aloha High School, lots going on at Aloha High School. HVAC project, had major summer push on that this last summer, and we'll have another one next summer. They're still out there working over the school year, just doing what they can without disrupting operations. Paging upgrade is complete. Softball, baseball, artificial turf is going in right now. That's the picture you see there is softball, so softball is complete. The baseball and soccer fields on the baseball field are underway right now. I drove by there yesterday, and they're rolling out the carpet right now. So that'll be done here pretty quickly, probably by the end of the month. This is an image of the new batting cages, the baseball batting cages. So we'll be doing those this next summer. Softball batting cages. We're doing baseball dugouts. That's not even listed on here. And then the concession stand at the football field will be renovated also. And these are part of that. There's a $2 million line item in there for athletic facilities. Southridge, we're just getting ready to start design for some improvements at Southridge. Beaver Acres Cafeteria, we're getting ready to receive the GMP and negotiate that. But the project will start here this upcoming summer and be about a year to complete. This is what will be an expanded playground at Aloha Huber Park. And then it also mentions design for the new field at the Capitol Center, which design is underway. Oh, this is McKinley. So we're adding a covered play structure at McKinley. And then for seismic upgrades, I've already talked about these a lot, but Meadow Park this upcoming summer will be doing the second half of the work there, and then we'll also be starting construction at Cedar Park. I'm going to skip modernization. We already talked about all that. And then deferred maintenance. We've got a bunch of roofs coming up this summer. So Terra Linda and Kinnaman and Capitol Center. Just the cafeteria building at Capitol Center. We'll be doing all that work this upcoming summer. Oh, and Sunset High School. I think we talked about that last month, the needing the additional funding for Sunset High School. So we're gearing up for that one this summer as well. Some stage improvements going on. And then the security upgrades. These are all projects that are going to keep going on for a few more years, but we're making pretty good progress. The security trio project, we've been turning over about 1 to 2 schools every single month, and this work just goes on continuously all throughout the school year. We do it after hours. Same thing with the DAS work, same thing with the paging work, but they're all going really well. And that is that. So, sorry to be done so early, but does anybody have any other questions?
Any questions on the financial report? Thank you, Aaron. Great report. All right. Anything for the good of the order? All right, just a reminder, our next meeting is February 18th. At that meeting, we'll be receiving our annual update on the board goals. This is something we do every year as kind of a checkpoint, since one of our charges is to review the board goals for the bond program and determine whether we're complying with those. We'll also get an update on seismic upgrades at that meeting. I think that's still the plan, and a financial update just on the overall bond levy and the bond issuance, kind of a macro level review. So, and if there's any other issues anyone would like to cover either at that meeting or the subsequent meeting, please let us know. Anything else? All right, well, I could stretch it out, but I think we'll be adjourned.
Thank you.